to introduce Phil Iversen, our speaker on the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition. Phil is a native of the great state of Washington, has immersed himself in every facet of the hobby here in California for the past 35 years. He has served as president of the California State Numismatic Association, the Numismatic Association of Southern California, Council of International Numismatics, Society for International Numismatics, and the California Exonumia Society, plus several local coin clubs. He has also been the vice chairman of the West Valley Coin Club 3 times, chairman of the YNs at the 1995 ANA show in Anaheim, general chairman of the Golden State Coin Show twice, general chairman of 3 CSNA conventions, and has served as the program chairman for the Northrop Grumman Coin Club for the past 25 years. Phil has designed several beautiful convention medals for both the CSNA and NASC, plus the medal for the CES 25th anniversary. He was invited to attend the first strike ceremonies for the 1986 Statue of Liberty coins at the San Francisco Mint and the special unveiling of the 1995 California State Quarter in Sacramento. He has spoken twice at CSNA educational symposiums and was the coordinator for their successful event held this past March. Among the many honors bestowed upon Phil include the ANA Presidential Award, Medal of Merit from both SIN and CSNA, Numismatic Ambassador Award from Krause Publications, Speaker of the Year, and Richard P. Goodson Awards from the NASC, and a Presidential Citation from the California Exonumia Society. He has won numerous exhibit awards at both the local and state levels, plus over a dozen first or second place exhibit awards at the ANA convention since 1990. Phil has completed running in 3 Los Angeles marathons and has gone the extra mile today in preparing this program for you. I also want to call your attention to those of you who belong to CSNA. The Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition Centennial is featured in an article that Phil wrote and submitted to the publication. Also, Phil has brought a wonderful exhibit, a 10-case exhibit of Exonumia and various items from the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition, which you can see down in the exhibit area. He made it non-competitive. So with this, I introduce my friend, Phil Iversen. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate those kind words. I couldn't have not written anything better myself. Today we travel back in time to a period when men were men and women were alarmed, as even then, as Bob Dylan sang many years later, the times they are changing. The year was 1909, 100 years ago, when things were so different, so new, and even so astounding. It was during this period of time that only the 3rd exposition ever to be held on the West Coast and the 14th in the United States was taking place in Seattle, Washington, the Emerald City of the Pacific Northwest. It was called the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition, and it ran from June 1st to October 16th. Almost 4 million people attended as the promoters wanted to extol the virtues of the area, Alaska and the Yukon after the gold rush, plus nations in the Pacific Ocean which became both famous and infamous since that time. Let us now take a quick journey back in time and see what us collectors would have enjoyed. If you're not familiar with the city of Seattle, it kind of runs north and south with Lake Washington on the west and Elliott Bay on, got the wrong pin. Elliott Bay here, Lake Washington here. This is downtown Seattle, and this is where the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition was held on the fairgrounds of the University of Washington. Here we see a map of downtown Seattle, 1909, streetcars, a couple high-rise buildings, a bustling population of about 100,000 people. So we're getting ready to go to the exposition. We get in our touring car. If anybody is old enough to remember, this is a Packard. And this is what people use to do the sightseeing. This is a photograph of the exposition logo. You will see Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition, Seattle, 1909. There are three ladies, emblem in the emblem there. One of them in the center, representing the North and the Yukon with the Alaska Gold Nugget. The one on the right holding a train where it transported people across from the East Coast to the West Coast, and another lady holding a ship that transported people across the Pacific Ocean for many, many, many miles. Here's a nice color view of the expo. Downtown Seattle is this way. This is the exposition. Here's the government building. Mount Rainier is way in the distance back here. Here's another view. Here's a government building. You can see you could travel by railroad, travel by boat. There was a boat landing, or you could travel by trolley car out to the exposition.
Is that a fountain there to the left?
This is a fountain, right. This is a fountain, small fountain here, which traverses down into a bigger fountain down here called Geyser Basin. Here basically we see the exposition, the government building, Alaska building, Hawaiian and Philippine buildings. We see this is a small fountain with cascading down. This is called the Arctic Circle. Here's a more colorful view of it. There's a boat landing right down here. There's also a train that ran through here, and also a trolley stop up here. So there's three different ways that you can get the exposition. This is the main entrance to the exposition on the west-hand side of the street. This looks like it was opening day. They had a band playing here. They had flags flying. You get your ticket, get your program, and you would head off towards the government building. This was the main attraction, the government building. Why? Because it housed the Treasury Department. Inside the Treasury Department was a machinery for coining metals. They also had a section in that government for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and had various items there, but we're going to stay with the Treasury Department because for numismatists, that's what we all enjoy. What they were doing at the Treasury Department, they were making and the so-called dollars that many of us collect today. The first one that we'll see is the obverse of the silver so-called dollar. Now, if you are collectors of so-called dollars, you have the book by Hippler-Kaplan, and the so-called dollars are defined as those metals designated metals of near dollar size. Remember that, because something will happen that is kind of strange. The next metal shows the reverse. Now is that the this is the reverse. This is bronze. This is copper gilt with the signed by the President and the Director General. This is a HK 359, the Utah dollar, which is in copper, and this was sold at the Utah building. When people see this one here, they think it's the silver one, which is HK 358, but this is not a silver one. This is a plated, silver-plated bronze medal. The copper Utah medal weighs 26.4 grams. This is the actual 358 silver medal. This weighs 30.2 grams. As you can see in the bottom, it says sterling. So you want to make sure if you're buying one of these, it says sterling on there, because so many of these have been plated and sold as silver medals and fooled a lot of people. There was an article in the July issue of the Numismatist that did not appear to be sterling. I don't know if it was the owner's medal or the A&A's medal, but it did not appear to be a sterling medal. So make sure it is stamped sterling if you're going to buy one. Now I said so-called dollars had to be a near dollar size. This is the HK 360. This is the Iversen. This was issued by M.E. Hart and Company of San Francisco. It is only 14 millimeters in size, which is not even half the size of a silver dollar. It's about the size of a dime. It is fine, 0.4166 fine in gold. This is the reverse. It weighs 1.57 grams. There's also a half penny weight, which weighs 80 grams, and a quarter penny weight, which weighs 40 grams. This is the HK 361 gold-plated silver with 3 female figures, spread eagle, and is 38 millimeters in size. And this is the reverse of the HK 361, which commemorates the visit by President Taft to the exposition. Here is HK 362, the Iversen, shows the seal without sword down in the bottom center. Our next slide is HK 362, the reverse, showing Chief Seattle up here and sword over here. This is the same in bronze, but it's upside down. I'm sorry about that. We also have numerous medals which depict the government building. This is HK 364. This is the reverse. This is brass, which is 33 millimeters. You see it says U.S. government building here, and it has a few flags here on each side. The next slide is also the government building. This is 365, but it has different lettering down here. It says U.S. government dot dash 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 dot building. Different design and different flags above each side on the left and right. Here again is HK 367, the government building, which says U.S. government building. Here we have only 3 flags here and 3 flags on this side too. Our next slide is HK 368, the reverse, the manufacturer's building. Well, it's the government building. Here, the next slide is 368. This is the brass manufacturer's building. It says manufacturer's building down at the bottom. The next slide is a variety. It's HK 368, and it's a typo. Instead of say manufacturers, it says manufacturers, T-U-R-Fs, F-S. Somebody couldn't spell right. I don't know how that happened, but that is a variety, so that is very something to be on the lookout for.
Maybe they ran out of space.
This slide is a box for the award medal given for exhibitors on different categories for cattle or different products that they were exhibited at the exposition. Here we see the box or the medal itself, allegorical figure, couple miners, and Indian in a canoe here. Right here we see a name, and most people, when they look at that, it says F. Ziegler, the designer. He was in a contest who designed it, but it's not F, it's actually E. The bottom bar of the E did not show because it is covered up. The E stands for Eustace Paul Ziegler. Now he was born in Detroit in 1881, one of 4 sons, and he died in 1969. He was well known in the Seattle art community for his wonderful paintings of Alaskans and scenes of nature. There's a wing in one of the Seattle art museums that is named in his honor. This is the reverse of the medal. They were all done in copper. These were award medals. This is a gold medal. They also have a silver medal and a bronze medal. And here they would have the name of the person inscribed who was awarded that particular medal. Most of these medals you'll find uninscribed. Very few of them you will find inscribed. Very, very strange. Here is a mailing box for this medal. This was mailed to a gentleman in Portland, Oregon. You see the box slides right in there. There's a stamp in here. And here's the reverse side. Henry Dosh, Director of Exhibits and Privileges, AYP Exposition, Seattle. I've only seen one, which is the one that I have. Here's a very interesting ceramic medal, the Iversen. It's uniface, it's about 2.5 inches in diameter. It's rather contemporary. I have no idea who made it. I still doing research on it and trying to find out. Again, it's the same design, but it's beautiful blue and white in ceramic. On the reverse, it has initials MB engraved right on there and the letter number 2. So evidently this was the second one that was made. Who made them, when, where, and why is still a mystery. So we have a little token here, United Cigars. This is the obverse. United Cigars was a company back east that you would get coupons for when you bought tobacco, and you send in your premium coupons, and you would get little prizes of sorts. Here we see this is the reverse of the same medal. Since we're talking about cigars, we have a cigar cutter. You put your cigar in here, push this end up, it would clip the end of it, and you're ready to light your cigar. The next medal here is from the Gold Camp Saloon. I don't really think that this was on the fairgrounds itself, because alcoholic beverages were not sold on the fairgrounds. They were forbidden in that period of time. So somebody probably on the outskirts of the exposition decided to make it and sold it as a souvenir. This is the obverse. Here we see the reverse, again, of the same medal. Here's a die trial. This is of the HK metals HK 362 and HK 363. We have a couple metals here from the Lotus. Now, two different varieties. One you can see kind of a curved stem, one kind of a straight stem. One has kind of a big petals, one has thinner petals. So if you're a variety collector, you have to have one of each. Here is one of the metals and the original envelope that it was sold in. Here are two fobs showing William Seward, the obverse, and both fobs again showing the reverse. We have a trade token here for $1 from Harry Eaton, where people like to collect trade tokens. This is obverse, here is the reverse.
Seems to me that should be the obverse.
That's true, I'm sorry. I put this together real quickly, my slide projector broke at the last minute, so please forgive me any errors.
We'll do that.
Here is aluminum 50-cent good for token at the Oriental Cafe. This is an unlisted metal in the late Al Erickson's Washington token book. He only lists the 5-cent and 10-cent pieces. This is the 50-cent pieces. Now, I said that the so-called dollars were near dollar size. These are the 3 pennyweight metals. The 1 pennyweight, half pennyweight, and quarter pennyweight. They come in a maroon box with black felt lining. The big, large one sold for $1.50. The half pennyweight sold for $1, and the quarter pennyweight sold for 50 cents. Here is a 1 pennyweight in silver. This is possibly a trial strike. Very rare. Now here is another metal, Spokane Day metal, and it's almost the size of a silver dollar, but it was not big enough to be included in the Hippler Cabin book. However, the 1 pennyweight was. Why, I don't know, since it was only 14 millimeters. I could only assume that Mr. Kaplan lived up in Northern California and was having some good California wine and decided to throw it in for some reason. Here are a couple different fobs. Harry Diston and Son saws. You could also find a postcard with his advertising circular saws. Here's a very interesting fraternity token. I'm not sure if it's Delta Epsilon Delta or what it is, but it's quite interesting to say the least. This is the obverse. On the reverse, it says, good for pay streak. Here we see a photo of the pay streak. It was very, very crowded. Amusements on each side. This went down and turned left, and it was almost a mile long with amusement rides on each side. Here are some of the different amusement rides that were located on the pay streak. Here's a very small, interesting gold-colored pin of Chief Seattle. The name Seattle was taken from the Indian Chief Sealth, spelled S-E-A-L-T-H. Here is another similar size one with the wording, the Queen City. Very interesting and ornate. small token that says, "I'll be there." This is the obverse. On the reverse, it has a U.S. and eagle shield. Here are a pair of cufflinks. Back in those days, gentlemen wore long sleeves and cufflinks. They didn't have buttons on their shirt sleeves. Here's a very colorful enameled fob. You'll find them in different colors. Some are blue, some are red, but they're all very, very ornately enameled.
Was that the logo of the exposition?
This is the Expo logo, yes. Something very interesting, this is an Expo design punched out on a $50, a 50-cent coin. Here we see 1909, "In God We Trust," with the Expo logo on it. This is the obverse of the 50-cent piece. The next slide shows the reverse of the 50-cent piece. United States of $1. United States of America, $50. These are very, very, very scarce. You don't really find those at all. Couple arrowhead fobs with the swastika symbol on them. This one was enameled in white. This one here that you can't see is enameled in red. We have the Indian head cent encased in aluminum, 1909. This is the reverse of that particular encased cent. There is a different style Indian cent encased in aluminum. And this is the reverse of the previous one. We also have the Indian cent in the potty chamber style, which are common too. This is one side, and this is the reverse of it.
No S.
No S. I've never found any Indian cents encased that are S. They're all been Philadelphia. Most of these were struck prior to the exposition starting in June, so mostly by manufacturers in back east. And so the S coins really did not get back to the East Coast prior to these being made. And here's the reverse of the previous slide. Now what's also interesting is to find these which are even not as common as the Indian cent or the Lincoln cents encased. You remember that the Lincoln cent was only released on August 2nd, so there wasn't much time to have these encased whatsoever. So these are much, much harder to find. I haven't found any S's either. Here we show the reverse of that particular encased cent. Here we have a pin with hanger with elk stay. This is from Lodge 92. See Lodge 92 up on the top. This is another interesting pin with a pick and shovel. And down below we have the metal, the HK 362 and 363. We have another three-piece fob, Seward, Forestry Building, and the Government Building. Here's another fob showing the Exposition logo, the Fine Arts Building, and the Government Building. Here's a pin, which is with HK, so-called $353. And And another pin, red, white, and blue, enameled, with the HK 367 so-called dollar. Here is a fraternal pin, 8th International Convention. We have a fob, Nice Epithius. We also have one of those aluminum punch-outs where you go to a machine and you turn it and punch out the letters to put on there whatever you want. Here's a very large pin with enameled portrait of the Expo logo. Here we have another three-piece fob. We have another pin, says souvenir up at the top with a hanging medal. There's also a wide variety of stick pins that were available and sold. Here's the logo, AYPE. Here's one of the little pennyweights, AYPE. And here's a miner with AYP on it. This is a badge from the Seattle Press Club. Hard to see it, but it says Seattle Press Club on the top. It's kind of broken down here. And the next slide shows the bottom of it. This was hanging on the bottom of the Seattle Press Club ribbon. Here's another Masonic medal for Commercial Travelers Day. Another Masonic medal, 4th Grand Assembly. This particular one is souvenir, has metal. There's a little tab right here, the shovel, and the shovel, it's a little flip, and it opens up, and you could put something in the back of it, like a little locket. Here's another one, reverse, shows the 22nd Annual Conclave of the Grand Commandery. This is another Masonic medal, 52nd Annual Communication. This is a mineral exhibits from the Washington State Commissioners. This was enameled in blue with the logo down here in the center. This is a little pin that someone would wear from the shows the education building. Here's a fob which shows a totem pole. It says Pioneer Square, which is in downtown Seattle. It's kind of out of focus here. It says Norway Day up here on the very top. Here we have a medal with a strap attached to it. We have another three-piece fob with sword at the top. Here we have a ribbon. Swedish Day. Every day they were designated certain days of the fair for different events and different fraternal organizations. Another interesting ribbon, Elks Day Circus. Nice ribbon, sourdough with a replica of a great big nugget. Here's a black ribbon with a medal attached to it. Small enameled pin, stick pin. Here is an enamel ladies pin, very colorful. This is another Masonic medal. It's for the 25th annual convocation.
How large was that lady's pen?
This one here, or the previous one?
That one.
That's probably about maybe 2 inches wide. And this one here is the Penn Executive Commissioners Association. Enameled, very colorful, very small, about the size of a dime. Here is a mirror, an oval mirror, showing the Fine Arts Building. Little foxing on the top and on the side, but on the back is a mirror. Here we see the copper so-called dollar with a nice copper chain attached to it. We have a black ribbon with Seward, and that's kind of gold plated. And then last but not least is we have a very large decorative pin with the logo here and a couple green stones. And a couple grapes leaves on each side. I want to thank the ANA for the opportunity to present this program and hope that it fuels the passion in you to collect exonumia of any exposition, including the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition. Thank you.